الرجيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا إنه من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وهو في الآخرة لمن الخاسرين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة من يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز ورشد واهتدى ومن يعصهما فإنه لا يضر إلا نفسه ولا يضر الله شيئا إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك على حبيبك وخير خلقك محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته الغر المحجلين ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين ونسأل الله عز وجل أن يحشرنا معهم وفي زمرتهم يوم الدين إنه ولي ذلك ومولاه إنه بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, so really just before beginning, can I have a quick show of hands of Muslims in the house? Surprise, surprise. So Islam Awareness Week, and you guys, I'm very grateful for inviting me and for taking the time out of a very, very busy time of the year for students, because you have exams coming up and you've got deadlines to meet. So making this time, may Allah Azza wa Jal make our coming together this evening a coming together of blessing and of goodness and of learning and of growth. But also I need to say to you as your brother and one who loves you for the sake of Allah, we as Muslims have a duty, and for 14 centuries now, or at least 11, 12 centuries, we have fallen short of that duty. Today I wanted to speak about, or I've been asked to speak about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in thinking about sort of what do you say, how do you capture the vastness of who God's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in an hour or so, how do you do that? How do you begin to do justice to that? I thought really about what is it of his life that is most pressingly urgent for you and me as people who have heard his call and are blessed with Islam. And what is it of his life that is urgent and pressing for the wider human fraternity, for our brothers and our sisters from the sons and daughters of Adam, from across communities and across ethnicities and across faith groups and across all of the other little boxes we're good at placing ourselves in. What is it that humanity needs to know about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Because the world is preoccupied, particularly in the West, with the call of a man who came to 7th century Arabia, and he received a message and he communicated that message, and 14 and a half centuries later, the world is preoccupied with that. What is Islam, and who are the Muslims, and what are its teachings, and what about the Quran, and what about polygamy, and what about terrorism, and what about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So the world's busy. And then comes the point where you and I have a responsibility, or have a choice, either to get smart or to allow other people to talk on our behalf. And that never ends well. It never ends well. And you've seen that in family disputes, when two friends fall out, when a husband and wife aren't getting along. People have to have the space to be able to speak from their perspectives. And we also need to give others the opportunity and the time to get off their chest the things that bother them. What is it that bugs humanity today? And so, inshallah, speaking to a largely Muslim audience, I'm going to begin by saying you guys need to do your best in making the most out of this 1 week throughout a whole year, because you have friends who are non-Muslim, and perhaps some of them have expressed an interest to you, sometimes asked you a question about Islam. Why do you pray, and why do you fast, and why do you dress like this, or not go to a pub or drink or whatever else? And they've expressed just by the questioning, because they want to know you a little bit better. That is your inlet to communicate and say, guys, we have this thing on and we'd like
the Quran says to him belongs the highest and loftiest of examples. Everything in existence is a metaphor for the loftiness of God. So for example, you and I have the capacity to love. We have the capacity to see and to hear. We have the capacity to empathize. And the vastness and completeness of all of that is God's. This is why the Quran begins with the very first words when we open the book of Allah is Al-Fatiha, the opening. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين. All praises to God, Lord of all the world. And that's a statement. It's making this, all praise belongs to God. Now that's a strange thing if you think about it really, because have you ever praised one another? Right? I like what you've done with your hair. I like, you've written a beautiful dissertation or done some great research. You may praise one another. You may praise the fragrance of a flower. You may praise the weather at other times of the year, perhaps more than right now. You may praise the song of a nightingale. There's all sorts of things we praise. We praise the laughter that emanates from a child's mouth. And so we praise all sorts of things. And yet the Quran begins with this great, massive assertion. All praise belongs to God. And the reason for that, the scholars of tafsir, like Sa'aduddin al-Taftazani and others have said, is because in reality, no one has ever praised anything that is worthy of praise, except unwittingly even without meaning to and without being aware of it, you praise the one who has made that thing praiseworthy. It's like looking at a beautiful painting and you don't know who painted that painting. And you say, this is an amazing painting, it's beautiful, the depth and the colors and the details, and you're praising that. You don't know the name of the artist. And yet this is praising the artist. You're not praising a canvas. You're not praising the way that ink from different sources has come together and collaborated on this. It's the artist who's done this. Allah is al-mustajmi' li jami' sifat al-kamal, the one who encompasses all of the attributes of perfection and beauty. So when I ask the question, where does God feature in our cosmology, in the way that we see reality as people of faith? Everybody agrees God belongs at the very top. And then the next question that I'll ask is, where does humanity belong? Humanity belongs here. So there's this God at the top and humanity down here, right? And then you ask a Christian, where does Jesus belong? And the Christian then, because Jesus is, according to the Christian, he's divine, he's God, he's the Son of God. But at the same time, he's man, and he's fully man, and he's fully divine, and he's God, and he's also the Son of God. And so there's a whole bunch of things going on there. So Jesus is up here, just beneath God, the Father, because every believer of the Trinity will say the Father is first and supreme, and the Son, a part of the Godhead, leaving aside the sort of complexities of getting your head around what that may mean to a Christian, it's still second to the Father. So God's here, humanity's here, and Jesus is just there somewhere. Then I ask a Muslim, where does God belong? وَلَهُ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى, the highest metaphor is God's. So he's at the top. Where is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam? And you know that line for creation, that's where we have to place Muhammad. We can't at any point claim that Muhammad is divine sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Right? So we've said Muhammad is here. Where the Christians put humanity, we put Muhammad. And then you say, okay, so where is humanity? And what do the Muslims do? Humanity is here. Where the Christians raised Jesus above humanity, placing him somewhere up there, almost up to God, touching the roof with God, we place Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam at the line that is humanity, because he was the fullest and most perfect and most complete of what it means to be a slave of